Hey everybody, I'm Kumsin Precious Open. I'm a logistic member of Group 4 and I'm presenting on the topic if critical thinking is essential for development, why is it that educated people find it difficult to think critically? In today's world, people are exposed to an overwhelming amount of information every day through social media, educational institutions, and personal interactions. As a result, this ability to think critically has become more important than ever. Richard Paul and Linda Elder define critical thinking as a process of analyzing and evaluating one's thinking in order to improve it. According to them, a good critical thinker does not simply accept information at face value, but carefully examines evidence, questions, assumptions, and considers different perspectives before arriving at the conclusion.
So, critical thinking, the case of critical thinking, and why it's essential to development. So, critical thinking is the ability of thinking critically, carefully, logically, and independently about information before accepting it as true. So, it involves analyzing facts, evaluating evidence, identifying assumptions, and making rather than simplify memorizing information or accepting what others say or do think. A critical thinker asks questions and looks for evidence before reaching a conclusion. Okay, so scholars consider critical thinking as an important skill because it improves learning and helps people solve problems effectively. In higher education, students are expected not only to remember facts, but also to understand ideas, compare different viewpoints, and develop their own arguments. So, critical thinking enables students to access information critically. It contributes to academic success and lifelong learning. Yes. Okay, so policymakers believe critical thinking is essential for development because modern societies in our communities face some challenges like environmental issues, unemployment, technological issues, and all that. So, poverty and etc. So, critical thinkers therefore supports evidence-based decision making and innovation.
In addition, critical thinking promotes good governance and democratic participations. Citizens who think critically are better able to evaluate political message, identify misinformation, and make informed decisions. This strengthens democratic institutions and encourage transparency and accountability. Furthermore, critical thinking supports social development by encouraging tolerance, open-mindedness, and respect for different perspectives. This helps people to resolve conflict peacefully. Again, critical thinking promotes economic development. Employers increasingly seek workers who think critically, adapt to change, and solve problems in the workplace. Individuals with strong thinking ability are often more productive and they help business to grow. Lastly, scholars value critical thinking because it improves learning and helps in solving problems. And policy makers also see it as essential for um, economic growth and social development.
Cognitive and psychological barriers in critical thinking. Talking about cognitive barriers, we say they are the mental block that prevent clear thinking and sound decision making. This confirmed Daniel Kahneman's theory in thinking fast and slow. Our brain prefers system 1, which is the fast, automatic, and emotional, over the system 2, which is the mental shortcuts. This leads to the heuristic mental shortcut that causes cognitive biases. We have some key cognitive biases in cognitive barriers, which is confirmation bias, seeking only information that supports our beliefs. We have the anchoring bias. It's when you rely too much on the first information we receive. Availability bias or the availability heuristics is judging race based on what easily comes into the mind. Overthinking or overconfidence bias. Overconfidence bias is when thinking we know more than what we actually have or what. So, in addition, one of the key cognitive barriers is the Dunning-Kruger effect. This is when overreacting or overestimating our abilities when we have lack of experience.
Psychological and emotional barriers of critical thinking. Psychological and emotional barriers make it difficult to think clear and make good decisions. The emotional side of psychological barriers are fear of failure. Fear of making mistakes prevents people from taking risks or sharing ideas. Fixed mindset. Believing intelligence cannot improve, making people avoid challenge and reject feedback. Thinking and social pressure. Focusing only on one's own views or following others to fit in limit object thinking. Stress and anxiety. High pressure situation reduce logical thinking and lead to emotional decision. These barriers affect decision making by causing people to make poor choices such as keeping with failing projects instead of changing directions. Modern education often focuses more on facts than developing critical thinking and open-mindedness. Recognizing these barriers is the first step toward overcoming them and making better decisions.
Another barrier is social conformity. People often agree with the opinions of a group because they fear rejection or criticism. Of Solomon Asch's experiment demonstrated that individuals sometimes give incorrect answers simply because everyone else did. This pressure to conform is common in schools, workplace, and online communities where people may stay silent instead of expressing different opinions. Groupthink is another challenge. It occurs when the group value agreements more than careful analysis. Members avoid questioning decisions to maintain harmony, which can lead to poor outcomes. History has shown that even intelligent people can make serious mistakes when they fail to challenge the group assumptions. Today, social media and echo chambers have made these problems even worse. Online platforms often expose people only to opinions similar to their own, own while dismissing opposing views. Over time, people become more confident in their existing belief and thoughts, willing to consider new evidence or different perspective. Education can also contribute to the problem when it focuses more on memorization than on questioning and analysis. Students may learn to repeat information instead of evaluating it critically.
Educational barriers to critical thinking. Education often prioritizes memorization over critical thinking. 1. Rote learning or memorization. Students are rewarded for remembering facts instead of understanding concepts deeply or thinking independently. 2. Focus on test performance. Schools prioritize exam success and correct answers over reasoning, analysis, and evaluation of evidence. 3. Lack of independent reasoning. Students are not taught to question assumptions, evaluate evidence, or construct logical arguments. 4. Teacher-centered learning. Teachers are treated as the sole source of knowledge, while students passively receive information instead of actively engaging with ideas. 5. Culture of authority. Excessive respect for authority discourages curiosity, questioning, and independent judgment. 6. Standardized testing. Standardized exams emphasize recalling information rather than analyzing, interpreting, or solving problems. 7. Limited debate and discussions. Students have few opportunities to engage in inquiry, dialogue, or debate that strengthen reasoning skills. 8. Limited problem-solving activities. A lack of practical problem-solving exercise weakens students' ability to think critically in real-life situations. 9. Conformity over inquiry. Education systems often encourage students to conform instead of asking questions, exploring ideas, and thinking independently.
Why education
does not guarantee critical thinking. The paradox of the non-critical thinker. It's true that education and critical thinking is connected, but a lot of people can get through an education system without learning to be critical thinkers. For example, I know I can have multiple degrees in different subject matters and never be able to learn to weigh and evaluate new facts without challenging them or throwing them away because they conflict with what I believe. Lots of education systems do more work with training our ability to memorize, get passing scores on exams, collect certifications that proves that we've gotten something on paper, not actually thinking. Students become smart, but without being able to analyze, to use or challenge and grow from. All that data there isn't the development of ability to critical thinkers. One of the things that we talk a lot about is credentialism. The assumption that the higher your degree or the higher your credentials, then the smarter or more skilled you must be. A certificate proves you acquired that information. It does not prove you used good judgment or your own good reason in the way that you thought about the data to earn it. Critical thinking requires one thing: intellectual humility. You have to have a willingness to admit you don't know something. Open yourself up to new evidence, challenge your own assumptions, listen to another opinion, and continue to grow and learn from your entire life. Highly educated people that do not have intellectual humility become very convinced of what they think.
Pathways forward to thinking critically. To promote genuine critical thinking, education should adopt inquiry-based learning, active classroom participation, explicit teaching of logic critical thinking across all subjects, assessments that reward analysis rather than memorization, classrooms that welcome questions and metacognitive skills that help students reflect on their own thinking. Beyond schools, society should promote media literacy, democratic dialogue, reduce political and ideological polarization, improve scientific literacy, encourage lifelong learning, and reform social media so that evidence-based discussions are valued over emotional reactions. Together, these educational societal reforms create citizens who think independently, evaluate evidence carefully, and make informed decisions.
In conclusion, critical thinking is an essential skill that helps people make better decisions, solve problems, and contribute positively to society. Although it is important for personal and national development, it is not always easy to practice because our thinking is often influenced by biases, emotions, social pressures, and educational systems that focuses more on memorization than dependent reasoning. This shows that education alone is not enough to produce critical thinkers. Instead, critical thinking must be developed through curiosity, open-mindedness, self-reflectionness, and willingness to question our beliefs. By encouraging these qualities in both schools and society, we can prepare individuals to face complex challenges and make informed decisions that benefit themselves and their communities.